तान्वितं ताम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्यनाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणम्। Let us quickly recite these verses which we have already studied. Everyone together we can do this. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Ishavasyamidam Sarvam Yatkincha Jagatyam Jagat Tena Tyaktena Bhunjitha Magradah Kasya Svidhanam. Hare Krishna. We are reading the Ishopanishad. So far, we have completed 10 shlokas in this book. A very important book to understand the basics of Krishna conscious philosophy. Many things we have learned so far. We saw in the first few verses, that is, first 3 verses, the description about Ishavasya principle. You may recollect the Ishavasya principle having 3 important points under it. Any of you would like to quickly recollect? What is the Ishavasya principle? Anyone? Just have at least a guess about it, if not exact.
One
Yes.
should actually, whatever is for his quota, one should accept it. He should not accept more than that, and he should reject the other things.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else would like to add to that, which Prabhu told just now? Anyone else want to add to it? Yes, Prabhu.
Everything is controlled and owned by the Lord.
That's the first thing. Very right. That's the first premise. Everything is controlled, owned, and governed, pervaded by the Lord also. Yes. And then comes the second point, which is told by Prabhu, that one should accept what is kept aside by that Supreme Person for one's necessities, which is called as quota. That's the second point. And the third point in that is one should not take the other's quota, knowing that that Supreme Person has kept it for others' needs. That's the complete Ishavasya principle. Thank you. So mantra 2 and mantra 3 are connected to it. They describe the benefits of following and the losses in not following them. And then we went to mantra 4 to 8. This was close to 5 shlokas in which we saw, okay, when we start following Ishavasya principle, we gain benefits. But we want to also know about the one who has made that principle, who is called Isha. Everything is controlled and owned by the Lord. So how do I know more about that Lord, Supreme Person? So that is described in the next 5 shlokas, 4 to 8. What will not help us in this process of knowing about the Supreme Person? That is 4 and 5. What will help us in knowing, in the process of knowing about Supreme Person? That is mantra 6 and 7. And the description of that Supreme being, Supreme Person. He is not yet addressed as person yet. But nonetheless, by those qualities, we can infer that. That was in mantra 8. In mantra 8, we saw a list of 11 qualities also. You may recollect some important qualities like akayam, asnaviram. He doesn't have material body. He doesn't have veins. Shuddham, apapavidham. He is antiseptic, prophylactic. Very interesting terms. Prabhupada had described them. So that was a second section we saw. So we have entered the third section. Last time we did see this third section, mantras 9 to 11. So mantras 9 to 11, if we understand it, the fourth section becomes very easy because mantras 9 to 11 are like framework. वो जो logic follow करता है mantra 9 to 11, the same logic is used in mantra 12 to 14. So that's why it is important to know this little detailedly. Then mantra 12 to 14 will become very easy. So after that, there is one more section, that is 15 to 18. So total 5 sections are there in Ishopanishad. Okay. So now we are in the third section. Please remember that. The third section. So mantras 9 to 11 we had started, and we had covered 10 also, na? The devotee who was there last time, can someone confirm it? Mantra 10 also we had completed.
Yes, brother. 10
Yeah.
completed.
10 completed. Okay. So 9 to 11, one of the very confusing sections of Ishopanishad. But if you little pay attention, it becomes very easy, like, a puzzle box. It opens up the whole puzzle. So we did see in that description that we want to know something in this world, either about this world or about the other world or spiritual world, which we call as knowledge. That knowledge can be broadly put in these 3 categories. I have explained it in the last 2 sessions. May someone explain this? Can someone explain it? These 3 categories of knowledge. If you understand this, then the further discussion becomes easy. So anyone would like to explain these 3 categories? Atheistic knowledge. Vedic. Yes.
Atheistic knowledge is material knowledge. It is not from Shastras, but it is useful for humans to sustain or to live.
Example? Very good. Rightly you told. Example?
Medical, like mobiles, computers.
Mobiles, computers. So like modern inventions, technological advancement. Very good. Yes. So they are all not exactly from Vedas, but they are related to this world. They are helpful. They are beneficial. Yes, that's true. The second, thank you, Prabhu Radha. Thank you. Second one, anyone would like to do? Attempt.
Vedic material knowledge, which is also called as apara knowledge. That is about for the sustenance of living entities. I mean, that is given in the Vedas. And it is meant for day-to-day maintenance of the human beings.
Example? Very good. You told the...
For example, medicine is given, astrology is given, mathematics is given, geography, geometry, etc. These things are given in there.
Yeah. Very right. So many things are given by Vedas. The Lord is giving through Vedas to us. Vedic material knowledge. So please know that it is a description about this world, how to live in this world. Like Varnashrama education is about this world, how to live in this world. Though the goal is there, but it describes more about how to live in this world. Very right. Now the third category, more easy. What's the third category? Paravidya.
No, all the knowledge about scriptures, me, and what is my connection with God, all those things comes under para.
So this knowledge. Okay. Yeah. This knowledge is about spiritual world. Is about the Lord who is there in spiritual world. His qualities, his activities, his forms, what activities he does with his devotees there, how to go there, what is the way to go there. That is all described in this Paravidya. Okay. So these three categories, broad categories, can be made because in these shlokas, mantras 9 to 11, there is comparison between this. So we should be knowing what is taught. Sometimes the word vidya is used for avidya or nastika vidya. It is used for aparavidya. It is used for paravidya. So vidya is a very generic term. But under that specific categories, we need to know. The first one is avidya or nastika vidya. Second is aparavidya. Third is paravidya. Now, the Ishopanishad also tells about another fourth type of knowledge. It's not a type. It's not exactly a type. It is a misunderstanding. It is misunderstood knowledge, false knowledge. And Ishopanishad does warn about it. So if we have already entered the mantras 9 and 10, so I have put a summary here again so that those who missed it can at least get a broad understanding with this. And we will proceed to mantra 11 directly today. Okay. So mantra 9, what does mantra 9 talk about? Please read. One at a time, the bullet points. What is mantra 9 talk about?
Danger of false knowledge.
Danger of false knowledge. It warns us about false knowledge. False knowledge means what? Yeah, anything more about it? Anything more about it? False knowledge. Can you give an example we saw in mantra 9? Any of you who were there?
We saw the example that a snake who doesn't have diamond on his head and
Very
a
good.
snake and a snake who has diamond. We consider the snake having diamond to be non-poisonous, but he's same as the snake who doesn't have.
Yeah, that example was seen, right? That example was seen. It is to show that how avidya, even though very much decorated, still has the poison in it. Like the snake, though well decorated with the jewel, very attractive, but it is poisonous. Very right. So, the example for false knowledge given in this shloka were two. The first one was karma kanda. The second was, any of you can guess now with this much?
Mayavat.
Mayava. So karma kanda here, what it means is to think that karma kanda is the only message of Vedas, is the only message described in the Vedas, that attaining heavens by doing punya karma, that's the goal of Vedas. To think this is false knowledge. Karma kanda is one of the content of Vedas. That is not false. That is true. But karma kandic mentality is false knowledge. To think that the goal and the purpose, the end and all destination of everything is essence of all Vedas is just karma kanda activity, attain swarga, and again come down, again do punya, attain swarga. This is false. This is not the goal of Vedas. The second one was Mayavad. To think that ultimately the Supreme is impersonal. When he comes to this world, he takes a form which is made up of matter, modes, we can also merge into that impersonal supreme and become God. This is false Mayavad. So danger of false knowledge over uh, material. See, material knowledge is not good, but false spiritual knowledge is dangerous. That is described in Mantra 9. Can you read the second bullet point? Huh?
Vidya is dangerous than avidya. Both Vidya and avidya lead to darkness.
So usually we don't say like this, na? Vidya is dangerous than avidya. What does this mean? That's why this Vidya is put in single quotes. Huh? This is a special meaning of Vidya here. The special meaning of Vidya is what here? What is the special meaning of Vidya here? Huh?
Half knowledge.
Half, not only half, false. Huh? It's false knowledge. Okay. So both Vidya, avidya will take to darkness, and this Vidya, which is false knowledge, will also lead to darkness. So that was stated in Mantra 9. Those who don't understand that this Vidya described as false knowledge will get confused. Are, how Vidya is also leading to darkness? Huh? So that's why if one reads Ishopanishad, just shloka, one will not understand the meaning. Srila Prabhupada has described it in the purport, so it's easier for them. Read the next point, bullet point below. Huh?
All spiritual knowledge is more dangerous than materialistic knowledge.
Materialistic knowledge, like that. So mantra 9 in summary. Okay. Mantra 10. Anyone else would like to read now? Mantra 10.
Mantra 10. Difference in results of mundane knowledge and spiritual knowledge.
Yes.
Avidya leads to one result. Vidya leads to different result.
So here, please note here. Here, avidya means mundane knowledge. Okay. Vidya means what?
Spiritual.
It's not false knowledge. In mantra 9, vidya was something. In mantra 10, the meaning is different. What is it? What is it? Krishna Prabhu told it. What does vidya mean in mantra 10? What is vidya in mantra 10?
Spiritual knowledge.
Spiritual knowledge. Okay. Yes, that's rightly told. So here vidya means different. So the meaning of vidya is differently told in mantra 10. So one word can have multiple meanings based on context. So one should note it. Okay. So here vidya and avidya don't lead to same result, that is darkness, which was described in mantra 9. They are leading to different results. So what does avidya give? What does vidya give? That's told next. Read it, next point.
Spiritual knowledge gives good qualities only. Material knowledge gives bad qualities.
So spiritual knowledge, what is the result it gives? It gives good qualities. So you may remember that in mantra 10 description, we saw close to 18 qualities. What was that the case? Any of you recollect? From where were those qualities described? Good qualities.
Bhagavad Gita.
Bhagavad Gita. Any exact chapter you remember, Prabhu? You're right.
13th chapter.
Wow, wow, Jai Ho. So happy to hear this. Mihir Prabhu is telling 13th chapter. Yes, 13th chapter, 8th shloka onwards, there were a list of good qualities. That is the result of spiritual knowledge. Okay. And if we cultivate only material knowledge, it gives bad qualities. It's not that material knowledge in itself gives bad qualities. Usually material knowledge, if one is cultivating along with spiritual knowledge, it can give good qualities too. But if one cultivates only material knowledge, if one is ignorant or opposed to spiritual knowledge, it gives bad qualities. Any example for those bad qualities? Prabhupada described them. Any if you recollect bad qualities? Huh? Like Prabhupada tells modern day students of schools and colleges, they have become a headache to the society. He describes like that. Why is that headache coming? What is that bad quality in modern school, college students? They are too smart. Is that case? Because they are not having the quality of respect, God consciousness, humility, self-control, tolerance. Prabhupada told about them and how they've become a trouble to the parents, to the society, to the country. Like when Prabhupada went to America, some of the very well-educated people, they had revolted against the government and had become what they called as hippies. The whole government, it gave up on them. We can't control these people. They are behaving uncontrollably. They are doing anything and everything. They cannot be controlled in any way. Until Srila Prabhupada gave his association to them. So that was mantra 10. So now what is coming is mantra 11. Okay. So we are going to see mantra 11, but nonetheless, let us see that in summary. Read it. Any other devotee can read the first point, mantra 11.
Importance of cultivating both spiritual knowledge and material knowledge.
Yes. So in mantra 9, mantra 10, we saw the importance of spiritual knowledge very clearly. The right spiritual knowledge was told. But mantra 11 tells, along with spiritual knowledge, one should also cultivate material knowledge. Arey, ye to kya hai? Why is it told? One should cultivate spiritual knowledge and material knowledge together. What does that mean in cultivating material knowledge? Why is that necessary? Read ahead, Prabhu. Avidya helps to...
Avidya helps to rise above death. Vidya helps one attain immorality.
No, not immorality, immortality. Immorality will be wrong. Immorality means anaitikta. Immortality. Okay. Amritatva. That's the Sanskrit word. Read ahead. Spiritual.
Spiritual knowledge is knowledge about Supreme Lord's name, form, qualities, pastimes, spiritual world. Material knowledge is to know the nature of material world, workings of material energies, gunas, karma, kala,
etc. Okay. So to know material knowledge means to know how this world functions. It doesn't mean you do all the material sense gratification. No, it's not like that. To know what the world's nature is. That is important. Okay. So with this in view, we will again come back to this. Do not worry. We will again come back to this. Let us go to mantra 11. So all of you, please have your mantra 11 opened in your book. So I am showing the shloka on the screen. Kindly repeat after me. Vidyam cha avidyam cha yastad vedo bhayam saha avidyaya mrutyum tirtva vidyayamritam ashnute. Translation. Read it.
Only one who can learn the process of nescience and that of transcendental knowledge side by side can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy the full blessings of immortality.
So, nescience means avidya. Transcendental knowledge means vidya. Okay. So, one should know both nescience and transcendental knowledge side by side. मतलब दोनों को साथ साथ सीखना. Not that only one, but both. That will completely, help a person to completely move from material world to spiritual world, like that. So the shloka says, you see, Ubhayam Saha, the word is used. You see, Ubhayam Saha, both simultaneous. What are the both here? Vidyam cha avidyam, both. And what will avidya do? Avidyaya mrutyum tirtva. With avidya, one can cross over mrityu. One can rise above mrityu. Tirtva, tarna. संस्कृत में तरना बोलते हैं ना, स्विमिंग अक्रॉस, तर गए वो. विद्यया अमृतम अश्नुते. विद विद्या one attains amrutatva, one attains immortality, deathlessness. I remember seeing in a school, they had this tagline. Like schools have nice Sanskrit taglines. Avidyaya mrutyum tirtva vidyaya amrutam ashnute. But actually they should teach spiritual knowledge. Then they can actually live up to their tagline. Like it was told in one of the insurance companies, they tell that, what is that? Yogakshemam vahamya. Yogakshemam vahamya. But that is only for pure devotional service. Devotional service is the one which gives Yogakshema. And Lord Krishna provides that personally. But people may use that without knowing full meaning. But see, these words are so powerful. So let us go to the purport. So in the purport, Prabhupada describes at first
Prabhuji.
about, yes, any question?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, transcendenting influence of birth and death means gaining immortality. So how are they
Both
different?
mean the same, na?
Yes.
Very good question. Note it. We will meet at that. We will understand it by the end of this purport. Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Transcending birth and death and attaining or enjoying immortality, are they not same? That's a good question. I will not open up that now. We will learn it in the course of this whole purport. We will learn that. Okay. If not, you can again ask the question at the end. Okay. Okay. Let's read it. Since the creation.
Since the creation of material world, everyone has been trying to attain a permanent life. But the laws of nature are so cruel that no one has been able to avoid the hand of death. No one wants to die, nor does anyone want to become old or diseased. The law of nature, however, does not allow anyone immunity from old age, disease, or death, nor has the advancement of material knowledge solved these problems. Material science can discover the nuclear bomb to accelerate the process of death, but it cannot discover anything that can protect man from the cruel hands of old age, disease, and death.
Yeah. So here, what is described now in the first part is attaining immortality. There cannot be immortality at material platform. See, everyone wants to live as long as possible in this world, is it not? No one wants to die. No one wants to die practically. Those people who are fed up and they are committing suicide, actually, they always have a hope that, okay, maybe I will have a better life after death. With that understanding, they want to end the life in this world. But actually, to say no one wants to end their existence, they want to continue. That is the nature of the jiva. Even when a jiva is in this material body, he wants to live in this material body as long as possible. In fact, if provided an opportunity, he will live long and long and long. So, but the laws of nature are such that they will force one. Chalo, hato, niklo idhar se. It will not allow one to stay in one's body for long. One can see that at the most unexpected moment, it can happen. Is it not? Sometimes, just now, we are all across this pandemic, wherein people were so shocked at deaths of people who were so young, who were so healthy. Sometimes you see someone who was a very healthy gymnast or someone suddenly collapses to death. It happens. So death is for everyone. If there is something which is common for everyone, that is surely death. Everyone dies today, tomorrow, or sometime later, surely. But one cannot escape from this birth, old age, disease, and death. So Prabhupada points that. And due to which one is always in anxiety. One is always in anxiety. Even the jivas who are there in Swarga, they may not have disease. They may not have old age, but they surely have what we call as death. That's why they are fearful of asuras. They are fearful of their end coming, by which they will lose their position in Swarga and have to fall to lower planets or Bhuloka, like that. So death is surely there, and everyone wants to avoid it. Everyone wants to live as long as possible. That shows that actually that desire is there within us, means we have a potential for it. And we want to attain that. That's our nature, to live eternally. But right now we are in an artificial state. That's why we are hankering, desiring to go to that natural state. So this deathlessness, immortality cannot be attained by material ways. Like there were, nowadays in the technical advancement, people are inventing many means to stay longer. Like they are inventing so many medicines, is it not? And the first time penicillin was invented, it was the first, I think, antibiotic or something like that, penicillin. And later, many such antibiotics, they were invented, and people were able to conquer over diseases like typhoid, cholera, which were like death waves. Many people would die long earlier, like chicken pox, or flus, or polio. So now people are able to rise above all those diseases. But yet, there are some new diseases which have come, for which we don't know how to cure. Is it now? Cancer is so common now. A heart attack is so common. Sometimes so young people also get heart attack. Is it not? They don't know why it happens suddenly. So, at the material level, with any level of advancement, this has not been achieved. And it is not that we can achieve in future. Prabhupada points that out. Earlier also such attempts were made. The attempt was made by this famous demon Hiranyakashipu. He had done great tapasya. He had done great hard work. And for thousands of years he had done that tapasya. And he had got an audience with Brahma, and he got this strange benediction. Yet he also died on one day because of troubling Prahlada on the hands of Lord Narasimhadev. He had to meet his end. Prabhupada describes that. So can you read this point? The whole point is, read this.
The whole point here is that even Hiranyakashipu, the most powerful materialists, could not become deathless by his various plans. What then can be accomplished by the tiny Hiranyakashipus of today, whose plans are thwarted from moment to moment?
Thwarted, what does thwarted mean?
No.
Thwarted. Thwarted. Thwarted means failed or disappointed or frustrated. The tiny Hiranyakashipus of today, Prabhupada says. So Hiranyakashipu was the most powerful materialist, Prabhupada says in another place. He was very powerful. The kind of tapasya he has done, nobody could perform. Even in future also, no one can perform like that. But yet, he also could not win over death. See, his whole attempt was to not die. Is it not? He had seen his brother had died, even though he had also gotten a benediction. but yet he had to meet his death from the hands of Varaha. So he knew I should somehow not meet death. Let me ask such a benediction that no death cause can happen. But still he also died. Huh? So Prabhupada is pointing that out. One cannot become deathless by any amount of plans. Plan here means material plan. Read it ahead, Sri Ishopanishad.
Shri Ishopanishad instructs us not to make one-sided attempts to win the struggle for existence. Everyone is struggling hard for existence, but the laws of material nature are so hard and fast that they do not allow anyone to surpass them. In order to attain a permanent life, one must be prepared to go back to Godhead.
Funny stories Prabhupada says in this regard. There was one man who got to know, you might have heard. If you have heard, please raise hand. I will allow you to say it completely. One man who got to know that this Lord of Death called Yamaraj will not come near a person who stinks, who smells very foul. Basically, one who smells like stool. So that person, he got to know about it, and he put stool everywhere. Nonetheless, he also met death. Another story Prabhupada tells that there was one man who, okay, I will make many statues which look like me only. And I will also stand next to that. So Yamaraj will be confused whom to take. And he will leave away. So he had made some 8 similar statues. And he also was standing, and Yamaraj, he was examining, checking like this. And he knew this person is too intelligent. Let me show him his intelligence. So then he told, Are, this statue is not looking proper exactly. Then immediately the one who had made it came ahead. The one who had to be killed that time has to die. And immediately told, Chalo, abhi mil gaye tum. Chalo, chalo. So it is a very famous statement. Time and tide waits for none. Death is for everyone, actually. So what is it told here is, by material plan making, material solution, one cannot become deathless. One cannot rise above death. So death is surely there for everyone. Then how to attain immortality? Because we have in us that desire to become immortal. Immortal means to live eternally. So what is that way? That is described next. Read this. Another devotee can read. The process by which
one goes back to Godhead is a different branch of knowledge, and it has to be learned from revealed Vedic scriptures such as Upanishads, Vedanta Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam. To become happy in this life and attain a permanent blissful life after leaving this material body, one must study this sacred literature and obtain transcendental knowledge. The conditioned living being has forgotten his eternal relationship with God and has mistakenly accepted the temporary place of his birth as all in all. The Lord has kindly delivered the above mentioned scriptures in India and other scriptures in other countries to remind the forgetful human being that his home is not here in this material world. The living being is a spiritual entity, and he can be happy only by returning to his spiritual home.
So the way to attain immortality is not in this world. One has to go to a place called spiritual world. That is eternal. There, death will not happen. There, these changes of time will not affect. So that place one has to go. How one can go? That process is described in these scriptures. Upanishads, Vedanta Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, and Bhagavatam. So in Vedic scriptures, there are 2 types of varieties. 2 varieties are there. One is called as Nigama Shastra. Nigama. Nigama You might have heard the word nirgaman. मतलब क्या है nirgaman? Like in the airports or in places like nirgaman.
To leave.
To leave, departures. Is it not? Prasthan or whatever you call it. And Agama Shastra. There are another variety. One is called Agama, another is called Nigama. So Agama Shastras actually are telling how to invite the Supreme Person to this world. Not that Jiva is coming to this world. That's not the subject in Vedic script. How to invite the Supreme Lord to this world, like especially when he comes in the form of deities. So Agama Shastras describe a lot about how to worship, how the deities are made, how to worship, all that vidhis of archana are in Agamas. There are many Agamas, Vaishnava Agama, Shaiva Agama, many varieties are there, Shastras like that. But Agamas are for that. And Nigama Shastras are for helping the Jiva go back to spiritual world. Okay. And those Shastras are mentioned by Prabhupada. So they begin with Upanishads, Vedanta Sutra, of course, surely Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. You see, Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken to a person who was about to die. Is it not? And he had a very specific questions. What should be the duty of a person about to die? Those were the questions. Two questions were there. One of them was this. So that's why these scriptures describe that. How one should transport himself to spiritual world and attain happy, permanent life with Krishna. That is the subject of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and Nigama Shastras, like that. So that should be learned from these Shastras. One cannot say, oh, I will just do some invention or some very nice thinking. By that I will proceed, I will go. No, it will not happen. So the Supreme Lord has given these scriptures for us so that we take benefit of them and go back to Him. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is told that on showering mercy on the Jivas, Krishna has given these Vedic scriptures. Jivera Kripa Kaila Krishna Veda Puran. There's a verse like that. Can you read the highlighted part? Since all.
I had a question. So here it is written that if nobody can stop death, but then we see about the siddhis or yogis who are sitting in Himalayas for almost 500, 600 and so many years long.
Yeah.
Then if that particular knowledge is being shared with this masses, that means people, then they can also attain that particular this thing. So then how does the question of facing that comes in? Because you can preserve your body and then so many things you can do through that.
See, the very nice. Thank you. So the question of Prabhu is that the practice of yoga path, which gives some siddhis by which one can have very long life, hundreds of years, and sometimes 700, 800 years old yogis also are seen in some melas. So is that not immortality? That's a question. Good question. So in the path of yoga, surely it's a spiritual path. It is aimed to develop spiritual knowledge. It is aimed to develop meditation on the Supreme Lord. So in the yogic siddhis, what is happening? Siddhis are actually a side benefit. What happens in those siddhis is that one prolongs his existence. He is not winning over death. No. Hiranyakashipu had all the siddhis. He could not win over death. One prolongs, actually by various ways it is explained. One prolongs because he has control over his breath. The number of breaths of a person is determined by one's past activities, karma. So one who is breathing slowly, he has control over his breath, he prolongs his existence in this world. But surely he has to meet end at end of that body. That cannot be overcome. Is that clear? Hare Krishna.
Yes, bro.
Does that answer? Okay. And surely the yoga path, the goal of the yoga path is also to um, awaken or, elevate the jiva and rise it across the chakras. There is a description of it in Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter, Shat Chakra Yoga. And then eject the jiva out of the body through the higher chakras. They call it Brahma, Randhra, Sahasrara, like that. By that, the jiva will go to spiritual world or out of this material. That is described in Bhagavad Gita. If you want to know more about it, 8th chapter is a very good subject on that. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. Can we read here? Since all living beings.
Since all living beings are his beloved sons, his part and parcels, God is more sorry than we ourselves to see the sufferings we are constantly undergoing in this material condition. The miseries of this material world serve as to indirectly remind us of our incompatibility with dead matter.
Can you read this statement again? Everyone, please pay attention.
The miseries of this material world serve to indirectly remind us of our incompatibility with dead matter.
What does incompatibility mean? Incompatibility. Like sometimes if you have an app, it's an old app, and you have a new phone, you try to install, they say this app is not compatible with the latest Android version. Something like
We are not capable enough.
We are not made for this world.
Very right. Very right. So our nature is not to stay in this material world. That's why we are called incompatible. We don't fit in here. हम यहाँ के नहीं हैं, to say in simple words. That's why that famous statement, we should go back to the God's village, Jao Devasya Gava story, is it not? So the miseries of this world, they remind us of this thing, that we don't belong to this world. Get ready. This is not a place for living here. For some time you are here, learn and move off, like that. So this is an important statement. In fact, I think there is a question also in your exam based on this. Continue reading. Intelligent
living entities generally take note of these reminders and engage themselves in the culture of Vidya or transcendental knowledge. Human life is the best opportunity for the culture of spiritual knowledge, and a human being who does not take advantage of this opportunity is called a Naradhama, the lowest of human beings.
So human life is to read the scriptures. But if one doesn't utilize the human life to understand the spiritual knowledge given in scriptures, he is the lowest of human beings. So why at all this place has misery? So Prabhupada says the misery is there in this world because there is some activity we are doing which is not right. We are not in a healthy situation. We are not in the good situation. Like in a disease, person feels pain. A person feels suffering. Like those of you who have usually sometime or other gotten flu or cold, you get headache, no? Headache. It pains. It makes you unable to do anything, focus on anything else. Is it not? Why that? Because I have gotten a disease. So similarly, in this world, when we experience misery, it is because we have gotten disease. So Prabhupada explains this example here. Can you read this? Therefore, the culture of Vidya.
Therefore, the culture of Vidya or transcendental knowledge is essential for the human being. Sense enjoyment is the disease material condition, must be restricted as far as possible. Unrestricted sense enjoyment in this bodily condition is the path of ignorance and death. The living entities are not without spiritual senses. Every living entity being is every living being in his original spiritual form has all the senses, which are now materially manifested, being covered by the material body and mind. The activities of the material senses are perverted reflections of the activities of original spiritual senses. In his diseased condition, the spirit soul engages in the material activities after the under the material covering.
So are you all able to follow this example? The example is of material living and diseased condition. These two things are compared. So living in the material world is like having a disease. We are having a disease. So when one is a diseased, if he tries to do anything and everything, he will increase his disease, is it not? Say suppose one has gotten cold, if he goes to eat some nice shrikhand or or ice creams and things like that, it will be increases disease. So one should not unrestrictedly enjoy in diseased condition. Similarly, when one is in this material world, if one goes for unrestricted sense enjoyment, he will face misery. Continue. Real sense enjoyment.
Real sense enjoyment is possible only when the disease of materialism is removed. In our pure spiritual form, free from all material contaminations, real enjoyment of the senses is possible. Patient must regain his health before he can truly enjoy sense pleasure again. Thus, the aim of human life should not be to enjoy perverted sense enjoyment, but to cure the material disease. Aggravation of the material disease is no sign of knowledge, but a sign of avidya or ignorance.
Yeah, just see the beauty of this example. It clarified so many things. So when one is cured of the disease, he can enjoy life. So when one is, he goes back to spiritual world, he can truly enjoy life. That's the actual life of enjoyment. To enjoy when one is diseased is actually misery. Is misery. And to think that, oh, no, I should actually do more enjoyment when I'm deceased, that's ignorance. It's avidya. So Prabhupada says it so beautifully. Is it not? The words of Prabhupada are so clear. The example. So this example, please all of you note it. Okay. This example that when we are trying to enjoy in a material way in this world, it is like enjoyment in diseased condition. So when one tries to enjoy in diseased condition, his misery increases. Already diseased condition means misery is there. And you try to enjoy in a diseased condition, it will increase. So one should try to cure the disease. That's the point. So then what should one do? One should try to cure the disease. How to do that? That is clearly indicated next. So the next part, which is the last part of this report, it talks about very interesting concept called balance. Many times we hear this, balance. We should balance, Prabhu. We should try to balance both. Both means here spiritual and material. Is it not? So what is the meaning of balance? So that is described by Prabhupada here. That same example is taken of disease and it is explained further, the balance. Pay attention to this. Continue. For good health.
For good health, a person should not increase his fever from 105 degrees to 107 degrees, but should reduce his temperature to the normal 98.6. That should be the aim of human life.
So in a Fahrenheit scale of temperature, not Celsius, 98.6 is the normal body temperature. When it goes to 105, it surely is high fever. 106, 108 is, you call 108 to take out the body. That is death. So 98.6, that's the normal temperature. That is the aim of human life. But today, in the name of advancement, one is increasing the temperature of body. What it means? It means one is increasing ignorance. The Prabhupada states it very beautifully. The modern trend of, can you read ahead also?
The modern trend of material civilization is to increase the temperature of the feverish material condition, which has reached the point of 107 degrees in the form of atomic energy.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
Meanwhile, the foolish politicians are crying that at any moment the world may go to hell.
uh,
That is the result of the advancement of material knowledge and
uh,
the neglect of the most important part of life, the culture of spiritual knowledge.
so if one doesn't have spiritual knowledge, one will always be in anxiety. Are maybe this country will blow away atomic weapons. Huh? Today it's the case, is it not? At every corner of the world, there is some war going on. Huh? Every country is in war with other. Sometimes one country is with multiple countries also. So who knows, some crazy country head may just blow off nuclear missiles. That fear is always there. So if there is no spiritual knowledge, it will make the world into what we call as hell. So Prabhupada says that's why spiritual knowledge is utmost essential. Read ahead. Sri Ishopanishad.
Sri Ishopanishad herein warns that we must not follow this dangerous path leading to death. On the contrary, we must develop the culture of spiritual knowledge so that we may become completely free from the cruel hands of death.
So cultivating spiritual knowledge now will make us deathless in future. So that's why it is important to cultivate spiritual knowledge. Now, at the same time, cultivating spiritual knowledge doesn't mean to ignore the laws of nature, to ignore the needs of the body. No, no. Prabhupada clarifies that further. This does not mean, read ahead.
This does not mean that all activities for the maintenance of body should be stopped. There is no question of stopping activities, just as there is no question of wiping out one's temperature altogether when trying to recover from a disease.
If you make the temperature of body lower than 98.6, it will also be death. A dead body is very cold, is it not?
Yes.
So one should not reduce the temperature below the healthy level. One should practice spiritual life, focus. That's the important goal of life, most important. At the same time, Prabhupada tells an important principle to make the best use of a bad bargain. Bad bargain. Sometimes when we go to purchase, we bargain. Na? अरे अगर वो 100 रुपए का बोलता है तो अरे 80 पे दो 70 पे दो समटाइम्स वी बार्गेन कम करने के लिए कोशिश करते हैं एंड सपोज इफ समवन bargains in a wrong manner, in the sense he became cheated, he paid a lot, it was not worth it. That's called bad bargain. You paid a lot and that what you bought was not worth it. We paid our spiritual life and what we got, material body, not worth it. That's called bad bargain. Now, if we have gotten an item for a bad bargain, it's not so much worth. What can we do? Make use of it in some manner. इसी पे तो उसको काम पे लगाओ. At least you make its best use. Is it not? So that's why this statement is famous. Make the best use of bad bargain. So this body, it is not going to give us eternal happiness. But this body can help us to attain that eternal happiness. Can you read ahead, Prabhu, from here? To make
the best use of bad bargain is the appropriate expression. The culture of spiritual knowledge necessitates the help of body and mind. Therefore, maintenance of the body and mind is required if we are to reach our goal. The normal temperature should be maintained at 98.6 degrees. And the great sages and saints of India have attempted to do this by a balanced program of spiritual and material knowledge.
So this is interesting to note. So we need the help of body and mind for our spiritual activities. Can someone explain it? Do we really need it? Can we do without it? Or can we ignore it? If not, please explain.
So for practicing spiritual activities, first of all, we need to have a body. I mean, if we are having body of any other animal other than a human being, then it's not
Correct.
possible for us to practice. And
Yes.
mind should also is also required, because uh, we can say it like this. I mean, through mind, intelligence is
Yeah.
developed, and because
Yeah.
of which, and when we gain intelligence, then
Mm.
somewhere or the other, we have that quest of
Knowing, desire to know.
gaining what is the requirement. So
Yeah. Yeah. Good answer. Very nice. Anyone else want to add to it? Suppose when we fall sick, can we do spiritual activities well? Think about it. Our body has fallen sick, is it not? But can we do spiritual activities properly when we are sick? Very difficult, no? Very difficult. So we need the help of body and mind. Though we are not this body, we need the body to practice spiritual life. That's the goal of using body, to use it for spiritual practice. Shariram khalu dharma sadhanam. It's a sadhana for doing dharma. Dharma here means paro dharma, that's the highest dharma, which is spiritual life. So that's the purpose of body. That's why we say, no, healthy body, healthy mind, healthy body, healthy mind in a healthy body. But healthy mind is required for properly practicing spiritual life. Say, suppose one's mind has gone berserk, berserk means it has gone haywire. Then one will have so much of psychological problems. With all that, will he be able to properly pay attention to Harikatha? Can he chant? Can he do kirtana? Can he do seva? Can he associate with devotees? Do you think it is possible? No. Very difficult, actually, is it not? So one needs the proper health of body and mind. And that's why the maintenance of body and mind is necessary. It should be maintained appropriate, 98.6 degrees. Prabhupada points that out. So in the Vedic terminologies, this was done properly within spiritual education only. The whole Vedic culture had the goal of spiritual progress, ultimately to get out of this world, to reach spiritual world. That was the goal. But with that goal, there were also activities for maintenance of body, mind, and feeling of sense of fulfillment, and then helping a person to progress in spiritual life. This was done in the terminologies called religion, economic development, sense gratification, and salvation, famously called as dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. The goal was moksha. Moksha means? Moksha means?
liberation.
Liberation. Or in simple words?
Free from birth and death.
To become free from birth and death, which is talked in this sloka, is it not? Did you not all see that in the translation itself? The goal was moksha, but dharma, artha, kama were for what? To live in this world properly. Is it not? Dharma, artha, kama were for properly living in this world. The goal was moksha. So Srimad Bhagavatam describes this more clearly. The dharma, actual dharma, is to attain unalloyed love for Krishna. The wealth, the artha which one gains in one's life should be used not for sense gratification. The wealth, the money we earn by our profession should not be used for our own sense desires. It should be used practically for one's spiritual progress. The kama, the desires, should not be for sense enjoyment. The desire should be for spiritual progress. And the ultimate moksha is to attain Krishna prem. Like this Bhagavatam describes in first canto, second chapter. Can you read this part, below highlighted part?
The path of religion is actually meant for self-realization, and economic development is required just to maintain the body in a sound, healthy condition. A man should lead a healthy life with a sound mind just to realize Vidya, true knowledge, which is the aim of human life.
So, dharma is for moksha. That's why that famous verse says, Dharmasya hi apavargasya. There is a famous verse like that. Nartho dharma, nartho arthayopakalpate, narthasya dharma ikantasya. Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter. It describes like this. So, dharma is meant for self-realization or moksha. And artha is meant for keeping the body in a sound, healthy condition. One should ensure that the body is kept well. The body also includes the things belong to the body, the relationships of the body also, like one's family, one's dependents. They have to be taken care so that one can practice spiritual life properly. Imagine if one has a broken family, if one has broken relationships, it's very difficult, no, in spiritual life, is it not? So though spiritual life is not dependent on them, but because we are not elevated, we are conditioned. So our spiritual life becomes influenced by them. So that's why Prabhupada points that out here. One should ensure that one cultivates healthy life with a sound mind so as to realize the Vidya. Continue reading the path of Vidya.
The path of Vidya is most perfectly presented in Srimad Bhagavatam, which directs a human being to utilize his life to inquire about the absolute truth.
So the actual Vidya is described more in Bhagavatam. There it is told the Vidya means to know about Brahma Jignasa, to know about that Tattva, Vadanti Tat Tattva Vidam. That Tattva has three aspects of Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. So one who knows this, he is truly Tattvadarshi. So all that is described in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and more so, it is described in another book which you will all study in this course called Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion. So there it is described about this Vidya or spiritual knowledge. So Prabhupada concludes this particular shloka's purport quoting a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, where it is told, for a person who is about to die, Shukadev Goswami is answering the question of Parikshit Maharaj, who had asked, what is the duty of a person about to die? So Shukadev Goswami replies this here. Can you read? Therefore, with one pointed
attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of devotees.
This is the goal of one's life. One about to die, one who is about to die, he should do this because this will give one immortality. It will give one deathlessness. So one should not think this dharma, artha, kama itself is the goal of this thing. No, no, no. That will again be another false knowledge. So one should think, understand what they are really meant for. That is moksha, ultimately to go and attain association of Lord Krishna in spiritual world. And the way to attain it is practice of this Shravana, Kirtana, Dhyana and Puja, which is the limbs of devotional service. Shrotavya, Kirtitavya, Dhyeya, Puja. Like that. So, in essence, this mantra will be more learnt in Bhagavatam and in Bhagavad Gita too. But here, the point is made that one should cultivate both of them together. So, one should cultivate material knowledge so as to keep one's body and mind helpful for spiritual progress. That's the goal. That's what Varnashrama also teaches. The goal of Varnashrama is spiritual progress, devotional service. And how to lead a life in this world which is helpful, progressive, conducive for it, that's the goal of Varnashrama. So when we say that material knowledge, cultivating material knowledge parallelly or alongside with spiritual knowledge, what it means to know what is this world. This world is a place of temporariness. ashashvatam. It is also a place surely of misery, dukkhalayam. To know what is the exact nature of this world and what is the way to rise above this world. That is also required to understand. That is spiritual knowledge. Huh? To think that, oh, I can be happy in this world. I just need to make some adjustments here, this, that, and all. That will not help. To know material world doesn't mean to indulge in material activities. It means to know the nature of this world, which Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, dukkhalayam ashashvatam. So understanding this world properly is important so that we become detached from this world. That is what it means to rise above death. Radha Gokulanand Prabhu, that question he had asked earlier, what it means to rise above death and then attain immortality. Are they not same, transcending birth, old age, disease, and death and enjoying immortality? Are they not same? They are same, but essentially there is a finer difference told. So when we understand the material world, we get to know, let me just put that slide here again. Here you see. Material knowledge is to know the nature of material world. This will help us. Avidya helps to rise above death. It means one becomes detached from this world. It is important. If we won't become detached from this world, we will not become attached to spiritual world. Is it not? And then the Vidya, the spiritual knowledge, will make us attain immortality. It will make us enjoy immortality. That is, one actually becomes happy in relationship with Krishna. So one thing, that is avidya, helps us become detached from this world, and vidya, that is spiritual knowledge, helps us to become attached to Krishna and spiritual. So both are necessary so that the transportation or movement happens perfectly. Is that clear? Huh? Radha Gokulanand Prabhu, I can't see him here.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, that question was. So we saw in this one small purport, actually it's a very beautiful purport. Prabhupada gave such nice example. I loved that example of disease. If one thing you want to remember in this whole purport, remember that example of disease. What is the disease compared to? Can someone explain that whole example of disease? Anyone? I can't hear.
A person who is there in this material world is compared to a diseased person. And then Prabhupada gave example of the temperature 105 to 107. So we have to maintain that particular thing to 98.6. So that which would be beneficial or which would be helpful for us to advance in spiritual this thing.
Yes, correct. There is one more point there. To not reduce temperature below 98 points.
Yes, bro.
What does that mean? To not neglect body and mind also. We have to keep it in a sound condition, good condition, so as to fulfill the goal, that is spiritual life. Simple, like example of another place Prabhupada gives example of a car. We want to maintain the car properly, the engine condition, the fuel, the everything well, so that we actually drive it to where we want to go. Not that we sit inside and sleep there. That's not the goal. Or to take it to some wrong place. No, that's not the goal. We want to maintain the car's condition so that we reach the right destination. That's it. That's part of journey only. Is it not? Like that. Okay, so we saw three important points here. Can someone read this slides? 3 points. No
immortality in material platform. X Hiranyakashipu.
Example, that is X means example. Okay.
Follow Lord Krishna's instructions to attain immortality. Best use of bargain. Balanced program for cultivating spiritual and material knowledge.
Okay, this completes mantra 11. Very interesting, important mantra. to cultivate both avidya and vidya, which means apara vidya and para vidya together simultaneously, side by side. This does not mean, Are, yahan pe bola gaya, that means I can do some breaking of regulative principles also. Is that meaning cultivating avidya or material knowledge? No, no, that's not a meaning of it. To maintain body and mind properly, as told in scripture, with the goal of spiritual progress. That's this.
Mic check.
Any comment or question? Any comments or questions?
Roji,
Yes.
in one of the classes of Ishopanishad, you also mentioned that going to spiritual world is just next to impossible. And Prabhupada also writes in the Purport. So then if we are here, I mean, it is told to maintain the balance between both, then we won't be able to, like, for example, if we will take the current circumstances, we need to strive more harder for the maintenance. So then somewhere or the other, spiritual knowledge or vidya gets compromised. So then how do we do that? Or is it, I mean, if we are more into a vidya or gaining material, this thing, so then it would be harmful for us. So it is better not to move into material knowledge or a vidya or to do this. Rather, just do some simplified things to maintain the body and try to practice spiritual knowledge. How do we?
Yeah, good question. Very practical also. Okay, before I enter the crux of the question, when we discussed earlier that it is impossible to enter spiritual world, it was in a specific context. That is, we cannot attain spiritual world by our own efforts, by our own plan making or technological advancement. So Prabhupada quotes that Brahma Samhita verse, Panthastu Koti Shatavatsara Sampragamya, that one. Okay, that was in that context. Just wanted to highlight that part also. So the question here of Prabhu is, today in the world, the need of body and mind, that is basic living in this world, has become so difficult that it takes so much of time and energy, and vidya gets compromised. So how do we keep balance here? That's the question. Am I right? What your meaning?
Yes, bro. Yes, bro.
Okay, that's a good question. In fact, it's very, very relevant question. See, when we say balance, this balance is not something static. It is dynamic. There are phases in our life when this balance is put to test a lot. Like we all have gone through student life, Student life, it was not having the demand or need of working in the world, earning salary, making a career or profession, progress. And that was not the worry. The worry only was to study, just get good marks in that final exam. And later some competitive exams came, study here and then. And later one enters professional life, and later one have children, and later when they become old enough to make a career, then there is a phase of retirement. So you see, the balance is not actually static. It's not that one has to do the life of related to this world always to the same amount. No, it changes according to one's age or his particular phase of life, actually, is it not? So at a phase of life when one is in profession, or when one is in grihastha order, family life, yeah, it asks one, it demands one to actually become very responsible. Actually, Prabhupada also worked very hard in his grihastha life. He had factories at 2-3 places. He was traveling so much because he knew he had responsibilities, is it not? And especially in today's world, to earn basic living, it has become very difficult. One has to travel so much, one has to spend so much of energy. Though the comforts are there, but there is so much of mental exhaustion also, is it not? Anxieties also, insecurities have increased, all this. True, that is the case. That's why there is also a need for a relevant guidance. You know, it's very much important. So at all these phases of life, when the balance, the meaning of balance is changing according to the phase of life. Like when I was a student, the balance meant, okay, you just somehow ensure that you come to the temples on these days, you participate in satsang, you do this much spiritual activity, do seva, and then do your study, do your things. Now you are all working individuals. Now later when you have families, then the meaning of balance will change. But surely it doesn't mean that we lose the focus on spiritual progress. That is to be the goal. We should never lose that goal. It is told that when goal becomes hazy, you understand? Hazy means unclear. When goal becomes hazy, a person becomes crazy. you know, Crazy. Because he loses the goal, is it not? So the goal should be very clear. And when we are pursuing that goal along with our material duties, the meaning of balance will have to be also understood according to the time and need of the phase of our life. For that, we need specific guidance. We need specific guidance. So how much to earn, where to consider this is prayas or over endeavor, is it not? You all have learned it in Nectar of Instruction also, is it not? So this all has to be discussed with someone on whom we have great trust, who is senior in spiritual practice. That cannot be discounted. I will not state something here in terms of details. Let us leave it at the principle here. Okay, the details can be person to person different, is it not? But the principle that the goal should be spiritual progress, it should never be missed out. I hope it helps.
Yes, bro.
Okay. Anyone else want to comment on that question or want to add or have any other question? Anything?
गुरु जी पिछले क्लास का क्वेश्चन है मुझे। आपने वो बताया था 17 पॉइंट जहाँ पे भगवान कृष्णा कहता है कि वन शुड गो टू सेक्लूटेड प्लेस और फिर या फिर जंगल में जाना चाहिए भक्ति करने के लिए। अगर कृष्णा को सब पास्ट प्रेजेंट फ्यूचर पता है तो फिर कलयुग आने वाला है और फिर प्रभुपाद उसको ट्रांसलेट करते हैं सेक्लूटेड प्लेस में जाने को कि एसोसिएशन में रहना चाहिए। फिर भगवान का कहना है ऐसा और प्रभुपाद का ट्रांसलेशन अलग क्यों?
ओह अच्छा, ऐसे बोल रहे हैं आप। See, Lord is translating, Lord is telling a principle there. What is the principle? To have seclusion means to become thoughtful. To become thoughtful. So to cultivate thoughtfulness, मतलब मनन करना, चरवण करना, इसके लिए एकांत बहुत अच्छा है. It's important. Is it not? At a phase of life, even in Vedic culture, one had to go in seclusion. Though everything in that Vedic culture was so congenial, is it not? है ना? वहां पे तो बहुत अच्छा था वेदिक कल्चर में, बट फिर भी वे एक धर्म के रूप में एकांत पे जाते थे. मैं एक एग्जाम्पल भी आपको दूंगा. आप सबने कपिल देव का नाम सुना होगा. कपिल देव, नॉट क्रिकेटर. कपिल देव हु इज अवतार. श्रीमद् भागवतम में आता है उनका वर्णन. कपिल देव के पिताजी कौन थे या उनके माँ? हाँ हाँ हाँ, देवहूति वॉज मदर. फादर?
देवहूति कश्यप मुनि थे.
कश्यप नहीं थे, कर्दम.
कदम.
हाँ कर्दम, कश्यप अलग थे वे. तो कर्दम मुनि है ना. तो कर्दम मुनि, ही वॉज ए ऋषि, ही वॉज ए वेरी ग्रेट डिवोटी. उन्होंने भगवान को भक्ति करके उनका अनुग्रह पाया उन्होंने. ही गॉट हिज ब्लेसिंग्स. And later Lord came and he blessed him that I will appear in your wife's womb as Kapila. And then Kapila Dev, he had already decided that after I give children to my wife, when I will leave for seclusion. So though he had Lord, the Supreme Lord, born, he left for forest. What was the need? One may think, no? What was the need? Dada Gurantru, what was the need, you think? He could have lived happily there only.
I don't know, Proj.
So the principle there is to teach us the necessity of becoming thoughtful. When we become thoughtful, we question our convictions and we follow our convictions. In Kali Yuga, this thoughtfulness is very weak. When we are alone, often we become hypocritical. Hypocritical? Hypocrisy. क्या है इसका अर्थ कोई बोलेंगे? Hypocrisy.
Double standards.
Double standards. कपटी बन जाते हैं, है ना? We actually tend to do wrong activities when we are alone. Because that thoughtfulness, that purity is not there. That's why in Kali Yuga especially, it is told, especially in the path of Bhakti, it's told one should actually associate with devotees. That will increase one's devotional service. So the principle of being thoughtful is there even when one is an association. When one is an association also, one should think, yes, I am hearing from all devotees. At the same time, I should become thoughtful. है ना? आप सभी सुन रहे हो, इसको आप खुद सोच के समझ के स्वीकारेंगे तब आप भक्ति अच्छी तरह से कर पाए, है ना? उतना ही चेंज है. It's not that the principle of seclusion is not there. It is there. But it is not done externally because there is always a chance of falling to sin. That's why when we are in seclusion, that's why it's told not to. I hope it helps.
Yes, Proj.
Okay, thank you. Good questions. Any last question any of you have? We want to do also today mantra 12. We want to at least begin it. Next week, we will meet physically. Krishna willing, if all of you are available, I will be there physically at temple. We can do later mantras together also. But today we want to start mantra 12 today. Any comment or question? If not, then we will begin mantra 12. Okay. Let's proceed to mantra 12. So mantra 12 is very similar to mantra 9. I will actually explain this better because now you already have studied, all of you, mantra 9 to 11. Please note that mantra 9 to 11 we studied it. So now it becomes easier to learn mantra 12, 13 and 14. Not only mantra 12, but all these mantras 12 to 14 are like exactly follow the same scheme as it was there for mantra 9 to 11. So mantras 9 to 11, they told us one principle. If I have to summarize it, mantra 9 talked about danger of false knowledge. है ना? M9 मतलब mantra 9. Mantra 12 talks about danger of false worship. So in mantra 12 to 14, knowledge is replaced by worship. That's all. Knowledge is replaced by worship. So danger of false worship. मतलब किसी गलत व्यक्ति को, वस्तु को पूजन करेंगे तो उससे कुछ डेंजर हो जाएगा. What is that? That will be described in mantra 2. Mantra 13 describes about, it is similar to mantra 10. Mantra 10 told difference between material and spiritual नॉलेज, है ना? तो नॉलेज को वर्शिप से चेंज कर दो आप. So mantra 13 talks about difference between material and spiritual worship. इतना ही चेंज है. इनफैक्ट श्लोकों को आप देखोगे तो एग्जैक्ट सेम है, वो एक वर्ड चेंज हुआ है बस. विद्या, इट गेट्स चेंज्ड इनटू संभूति. दैट्स द वर्ड इन वर्शिप. अब श्लोकों को अभी हम देखेंगे. वी विल एग्जैक्टली कंपेयर दैट. ओके. एंड सिमिलरली mantra 11, which we just now saw, it talked about the cultivation of both material and spiritual knowledge side by side, है ना? So one should cultivate both of them side by side. Side by side, huh? That was the essential point. In mantra 14, you replace that knowledge with worship, cultivating both material worship and spiritual worship side by side. इसका अर्थ क्या है वो हम देखेंगे. Okay. So as I told, if you have learned mantra 9 to 11, the concepts are clear. Mantra 12 to 14 is like cakewalk. It's very easy. The framework is similar. The replacement is of knowledge with worship. Let us see mantra 12. All of you open the mantra 12 in your book. Let us see them. See, you have mantra 12 and also open mantra 9 in your book. Open mantra 9. Now we are reciting mantra 12. Compare it with mantra 9 and exactly point out what words are changed. Mantra 12. Andham tamah pravishanti. Ye asambhutim upasate. Tato bhuya ivate tamo. Ya usambhutyamrata. Did any of you make that comparison? Mantra 9 and mantra 12. Which lines are same? Which lines are different? At least lines.
So here Vidyam and here Sambhutam.
Sambhutim. Sambhutim. So the first and third line, are they same?
Yes.
Yes. Andham tamaha pravishanti tato bhuya ivate tamo. Just a very literal comparison. We don't even know the meanings yet. Just we are comparing. Okay. What the words have changed is, even second and fourth line, only two words have changed. Asambhuti is replacing avidya. Sambhuti is replacing vidya. है ना? इतना ही चेंज है, पर ये इंपॉर्टेंट चेंज है, से मीनिंग काफी बदल जाता है. What is that? We will see in purports of Prabhupada. Okay, all of you, I hope you noted it. Similarly, you will compare mantra 13 with mantra, which mantra?
10.
10. And mantra 14 with mantra
11.
11. Please note it. It's very clear. It becomes very, very clear if you just do this comparison. Read the translation. Anyone else?
Those who are engaged in the worship of demigods enter into the darkest region of ignorance, and still more so do the worshippers of the impersonal absolute.
So, those who are engaged in worship of demigods आ गया है वो इधर. उधर था material knowledge, है ना? और nescience ऐसा शब्द था वहां पे. That word was there. But here, worship of demigods. Actually, this sequence is important to note. At first, one gets knowledge, and then one does what is called application of knowledge, which is worship. So, worship is nothing but application of knowledge. तो अगर सही नॉलेज लिया है तो सही वर्शिप करेगा वो आगे. तो उस वर्शिप का यहाँ पे डिस्क्रिप्शन है बस. So, worship of demigods is called as asambhuti, and worship of impersonal absolute is so-called worship. In the earlier shloka, it was so-called knowledge, or in other words, it was false knowledge. है ना? यहाँ पे false worship मतलब क्या है? False worship क्या है यहाँ पे? Please note it in the translation.
Worship of demigod.
No, 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 no. Not, it's not false worship. It is material worship. Like material knowledge is there. Similarly, worship of demigods, which is material worship. There was false knowledge, so-called knowledge in mantra 9, है ना? जो और भी खतरनाक है कि नहीं? हाँ? ऐसे ही मंत्र 12 में what is false worship? See the word to translation. Just now you have seen.
Impersonal absolute.
Yes, Rishikesh Prabhu Kunde Prabhu is telling worship of impersonal absolute, following of impersonal path, which is Mayavad, is false worship. Okay, so this should be very clear. As we saw earlier, in the earlier mantra 9, we had seen danger of false knowledge. False spiritual knowledge is more dangerous than materialistic knowledge. This was the line, one line meaning of that whole mantra. Similarly here, false worship, that is path of impersonal absolute, that is Mayavad, is more dangerous than what? Come on, than what?
Demigod worship.
डेमिगॉड वर्शिप. इतना ही है. हाँ, अगर ये समझ आ गए तो आगे का पूरा खुल जाता है. ओके, सो नाउ वी विल एंटर द परपोर्ट. बिफोर दैट आई एम जस्ट शोइंग, वहां पे जो अविद्या था यहाँ पे असंभूति बनता है. आई होप यू आर सीइंग द स्लाइड. एंड जहां वहां पे विद्या था वो संभूति बनता है. ओके, सो असंभूति संभूति, देयर इट वाज अविद्या एंड विद्या. So what are the false types of worship? There are two categories in it. One is called pseudo worship. Another is called impersonal path, which is Mayavad. Both of them will be described by Prabhupada one by one. Okay, so let us go to the purport of Prabhupada's description. Purport. Start reading. The Sanskrit word.
The Sanskrit word asambhuti refers to those who have no independent existence. Sambhuti is the absolute personality of Godhead, who is absolutely independent of everything. In the Bhagavad Gita, the absolute personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna states.
So here is an important shloka in Gita where it is told how this absolute, which is the supreme, sambhuti, samyak rupenah bhutihi astitva. So one whose existence is perfect, one who can't be known by anyone, who is the source of all other existence. That is described in this shloka. Can you read translation directly? Neither the hosts
of demigod nor the great sages know my origin or opulence. For in every respect, I am the source of demigods and sages. Thus, Krishna is the origin of the powers delegated to demigods, great sages, and mystics. Although they are endowed with great powers, these powers are limited, and thus it is very difficult for them to know how Krishna himself appears by his own internal potency in the form of a man.
So here what is told is how difficult it is to know about the Supreme Person who is the source of everything. We all have come from that Supreme Person. How can we know about our origin fully? It is difficult, no? We will not know fully. Who can know that Supreme Person fully? Only Supreme Person only can know. Only when he describes himself can we know him. Otherwise, it is not possible. So Prabhupada gives a very interesting explanation here in this paragraph. Many philosophers, read this.
Many philosophers and great rishis or mystics try to distinguish the absolute from the relative by their tiny brain power. This can only help them reach the negative conception of the absolute without realizing any positive trace of the absolute. Definition of the absolute by negation is not complete. Such negative definitions lead one to create a concept of one's own. Thus, one imagines that the absolute must be formless and without qualities. Such negative qualities are simply the reversal of relative material qualities and are therefore also relative. By conceiving of the absolute in this way, one can at the utmost reach the impersonal effulgence of God known as Brahman, but one cannot make further progress to Bhagwan, the personality of Godhead.
It's an interesting statement Prabhupada has made. Definition of absolute by negation is not complete. This requires some discussion. I hope you remember in mantra 4 or 5, I had described this path of understanding by negation. I had given an example also. I will repeat it just so that we all get it well now. Suppose I don't know a fruit called dragon fruit. And if someone wants to explain me what is dragon fruit, I have not seen it. I have never tasted it surely. And if someone is trying to explain me dragon fruit, and if he explains like this, that dragon fruit is not like orange, it's not like apple, it's not like dalim, pomegranate. Yeah, you will understand. Yeah, okay. Dragon fruit is not orange or apple. Okay. But what actually it is not known. What you understand is what is not dragon fruit. But what is actually dragon fruit, that is not yet known. So, to know what a thing is not is important. It is called knowledge by negation. But to know what a thing is in fact more important. That is called knowledge by positive description. So you should know, oh, dragon fruit, it looks like pink. It is pink in color. If you cut it open, it has that white pulp and has black seeds, It tastes like this, Oh, then one can identify dragon fruit. So the first part of knowledge, that is understanding by negation, is important so that one doesn't wrongly accept ड्रैगन फ्रूट। तो कोई डालिम को ड्रैगन फ्रूट ना बोल पाए ना बोलना चाहिए ना, इसलिए दैट्स इम्पोर्टेंट। So similarly, in understanding that's about supreme truth, Param Satya, the supreme person, it is important to know that he is not like material things or material, the people of this material conditions. That's why there is a lot of description like that. Neti. He is not having a form like material, the people of this world. He's not under this modes. He is not affected by time. Like this, all this. No anarthas are there. He acts by his own will. So the positive descriptions are told in another part of the Vedic scripture. How he looks, what are his activities, what are his qualities. So that both are important. The first part, maybe one can get on his own thinking, what is not the supreme truth. But to know the positive description of that supreme truth, one needs the knowledge given by that supreme person only. One cannot know it on his own. So one can attain Brahman realization by one's own effort, possible. It is told that some famous thinkers like Socrates, who are not having connection to Vedic culture, they also had Brahman realization. They also thought, yes, there is soul, who is different from body. We are souls. We don't die. They all understood it. But to know about the supreme soul, super soul, to know about the Bhagavan, Supreme Lord, is not possible by one's own thinking. So Prabhupada described that in this small paragraph which we just now read. So much difficult that even great devatas who have read Vedas, who are following Vedic culture, even great rishis, they mistake. Sometimes when they see Krishna, Lord Shri Krishna in front, they mistake him to be like a normal person. Can you read this highlighted part? Hare Krishna.
Dependent demigod and great sages imperfectly considers him to be a powerful demigod, and they consider the Brahman effulgence to be the absolute truth. But the devotee of Krishna, by the dint of their surrendering unto him in unalloyed devotion, can know that he is the absolute person and that everything emanates from him.
Can some of you give example of how demigods and sages did not understand Krishna properly?
Brahma Vimohan Leela.
What actually means, what was the wrong understanding, Prabhu? Can you little explain about it?
Brahmaji mistaken Lord as a coward boy.
Coward boy, yeah.
Just a normal coward boy.
Normal coward. Maybe he killed some demons, but how could he be? He is so uncivilized. He is drinking the charts from others' mouth. That really confused Brahmaji. Yes. Any other example? Thank you, Rishikesh. Any other example?
Govardhan Leela.
What happened exactly? Means what was
Govardhan
the
Leela.
mistake?
Govardhan Leela is where Indra forgets.
So what was his wrong understanding about Krishna?
He forgot that Krishna is the supreme, and he got offended that why the Kukulvas is not doing yajnas to please him instead of doing it for Krishna.
See, Indra is a very interesting example. You will see him again and again making that mistake. है ना? इसके बाद भी वो करते हैं. किसी को याद है? इंद्र ये गोवर्धन लीला होने बाद तो वो भगवान के पैर पड़ते हैं ना. देवता लोग तो पैर छूते नहीं या धरती पे आते ही नहीं. But Indra, he touches the feet of Lord. He prays for forgiveness. Again, he does mistake. Again, he misunderstands Krishna. Which instance was that? In Dwaraka Lila, Krishna is prayed to by Indra because his mother's earrings, Aditi's earrings, her umbrella, some precious ornaments were stolen by one demon, Narakasura. And Krishna goes to bring back those things for Indra. इंद्र के लिए वो लेके आते हैं, उस राक्षस को मार के उन चीजों को ले आते हैं. And then he gives it to Indra. Indra becomes very happy. He prays to Krishna. But after that, what happens? I think this much hint should be okay. Yeah. What happens after that?
I don't think anyone of us know, Prabhuji.
Okay, sorry. So you all know that maybe you might have heard this incident little, that Krishna after that wants to take Parijata tree for his wife. And when he's taking that tree, actually for Satyabhama, then Indra becomes angry again. And he becomes so angry that he starts to fight with Krishna. And Krishna again defeats that Indra. Yes. One who is seeing Krishna in front of his eyes is making this mistake. Do not consider Indra is foolish. He is not having knowledge. No, he has so much knowledge. He has so much power. But yet these mistakes happen. Surely there is a sense of false pride. At the same time, the nature of Jiva is also like this. That he cannot know the Supreme Lord fully. He cannot know him without surrendering to him. That's the point here told. Okay. So the first thing we are learning here is how difficult it is, how rare it is to understand that Supreme Person. Often people make this mistake. Oh, these devatas are supreme. Oh, this Nirakar Brahma Jyoti is supreme. That is actually misleading. That is now. So the first misunderstanding, which is compared to asambhuti in this shloka, is worship of devatas, demigods. So there are very clear shlokas in Bhagavad Gita which tell about this. So who are those people who worship devatas? It's described there. Let us quickly maybe read the verses translation, because that will help us in understanding this concept of demigod worship. So the first type of misunderstanding of Supreme Lord is considering him as a devata. Okay. So I am showing here Bhagavad Gita shlokas, 7th chapter, 20th shloka. Can someone read the red colored text?
Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrenders unto demigod and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures.
So who worship devatas?
Those whose intelligence is stolen by material desires have been they are
So what does that mean? Can someone try to explain it better? Intelligence stolen by material desires. What does this mean?
entangled into material desires, attachments, sense gratification.
So they may have the knowledge. See, intelligence was there, but it became stolen because the material desires became so powerful. The person had knowledge, but under the influence of those desires, he forgot the principles of Krishna as supreme. He started worshipping whom? Devatas. It happens because of the power of the material desires. And another verse which comes in this line is 23. What happens by worship of devatas? Read this also. Men
of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet.
Here again it is told, who worship devatas? Who worship devatas? In this verse, what is told?
The men of small intelligence.
Small intelligence. मतलब इतने बुद्धि जिनका नहीं है, कम बुद्धि वाले, अबुद्धया or अल्पमेधसा, that's the word used. And what will be the result of worshipping devatas? Temporary. है ना? They may go to the planets of devatas, which is temporary. So they are clearly described by Krishna, the principle of demigod worship, in Bhagavad Gita. So Prabhupada, he quotes them and he describes that nature. Can you read, Prabhu, in the Bhagavad Gita?
So I had a question
Yes.
on this specific word only, nature.
Yes.
So each and every living entity has a different nature. So because of which the worship also can change. No. I mean, that day I was hearing to one of the lectures. In that lecture, Proji told, Radha Gopinath Pro told that why there are so many scriptures. The reason behind being so many scriptures is the nature of each and every individual is different. So according to his or her nature, one particularly picks up that particular form of worship.
Correct.
So according to this, I mean, then it is just for a temporary being. How can we call them small or less intelligence? I mean,
but all those natures are because of incomplete understanding. See, among the incomplete understandings, there are so many varieties. And to facilitate all those varieties, there are so many devatas. Someone worships Devi, someone worships Ganesh, someone worships you know, all different, you know, but all are actually because of incomplete understanding of who is supreme, whose worship will give me ultimate benefit.
Yes.
That's the way. The shloka, if you see, it is not specifically telling one particular nature or one particular devata. It is encompassing all the devata worship. Actually, to worship devatas means to worship any jiva as supreme. Devatas are also jivas only. Yes, they are very powerful jivas because they are given that power by God only. Is it not? So to consider any jiva to be supreme is demigod worship. Like today, many may not worship devatas, but they surely worship cricket stars, movie stars. Is it not? Huh? All that is also some different devatas now. Huh? But that's nonetheless mundane, temporary. So conditioned nature or impure nature is because of ignorance of spiritual knowledge. In that sense, yes. But the true knowledge will bring one to the path of worship of Krishna. I hope it helped. Any comment, Haribol?
No, bro, got it. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can you read? We'll just end with this one paragraph. In the Bhagavad Gita,
In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that only unintelligent, bewildered person, driven by a strong desire for sense gratification, worship the demigod for the temporary relief of temporary problems. Since the living being is materially entangled, he has to be relieved from material bondage entirely to attain permanent relief. Permanent relief on the spiritual plane, where eternal bliss, life, knowledge exist. Ishopanishad therefore instruct that we should not seek temporary relief of our difficult by worshipping the dependent demigod who can bestow only temporary benefit. Rather, we must worship the absolute personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is all attractive and who can bestow upon us complete freedom from material bondage by taking us back home, back to Godhead.
So like this, the worship of Krishna is shown as ultimate beneficial method. The ultimate worship is worship of Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita, it's described. Anyway, this discussion about demigod worship will come now. Prabhupada will describe it with very nice examples also. Who are devatas? Why are they specifically empowered? What happens to the worshipper of devatas? If one worships devatas very selflessly, what happens? Huh? What is the hope for them? All that will come now. Okay. So we will continue this discussion in the next session, which will be next Sunday. Krishna Prabhu will have next Sunday.
Yes, brother.
Next Sunday, Krishna willing, I will personally be there also. We will meet and we'll complete this mantra and next mantra also. So today, what did we learn? Today, we completed mantra 11. Mantra 11, which was in the context of knowledge, we completed. All those three mantras, 9, 10, and 11, are all in the category of knowledge. So we started mantra 12. We saw the framework of how mantra 12, 13, 14, they follow mantra 9, 10, and 11. So please remember that framework. It becomes very easy. And just as in mantra 9, it was told, false spiritual knowledge is more dangerous than materialistic knowledge. Similarly, worship of impersonal absolute is more dangerous than demigod worship. Both are bad. Both are not the right methods, right worship. But among them, this is more dangerous. That will be shown. In this purport, we saw the first point about how difficult and rare is to understand Krishna as the supreme worshipable person. And then we started the second aspect of understanding demigod worship. And third part of worship of impersonal path, that will be also learnt in this purport. These are the three essential points which actually tell danger of false worship. We will see this more in the next session. So I will pause the discussion here itself. That's already time up. Any comment or question? We will end it here itself. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Those who have any comment or question can ask.
प्रभु जी, आपने एग्जांपल दिया कि जैसे इंद्रा या फिर ब्रह्मा सुप्रीम पर्सनालिटी ऑफ गॉडहेड को पावरफुल डेमिगॉड समझते हैं, और यहाँ पे प्रभुपाद ने मेंशन किया है कि वो ब्राह्मण को एब्सोल्यूट समझते हैं, तो उसका कोई एग्जांपल है ऐसा?
हाँ, मतलब जैसे they were not understanding that Krishna as a supreme person. When Krishna was present in front of them, they mistook Krishna. When he was exhibiting such amazing activities, still they mistook Krishna. Huh? And that means what? What was their understanding of supreme? Oh, supreme must be not having this, activities like people of this world. He should not have material qualities. Huh? He should be just exhibiting peaceful state, perfect cleanliness, perfect, all those things. So, though we don't see in those examples, they considering Brahmajyoti as Parama or Supreme. But nonetheless, they mistook Krishna. They did not understand Krishna. That was seen in that examples. Okay?
Yes, Prabhu.
That sense. Okay. Thank you. Any comment or question? We'll end here. Okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. We'll
Hare
meet next Sunday. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
Dandavat pranam.